Professional as possible. It'll also be colloquial, but hey, doctor.
Hi.
It's hard to start. This is my good friend Melaine, everybody. This is Dr. Ferdinand King of Brown University, the one and only. Known him since undergrad. Spellman's finest, Bonus Scholar Supreme. Just really is a great human being in general. How you doing today, Dr. King? Can I call you Doctor?
You can
Dr.
call me
Ferdinand?
doctor. Yeah, I haven't gotten
Okay.
used to it yet. Thank you. I'm
Okay.
doing well. Very happy to be here. Thanks for
All
having
right,
me.
no problem. So this is Black Heroes, a modern anthology of Black resistance and innovation. And today I'm just asking about your life because you've done so much stuff in your life that while you get to talk about your dissertation, but you also get to talk about yourself. You have a legacy from what I've known, and I've traveled all across the world and meeting amazing human beings that, especially Black folk, that have really took the words and lessons of our ancestors, haven't missed in it one bit, and have added to this anthology of our resistance and power and just beauty. And I think you represent all of that in general. Whenever you move, whenever you speak, whenever you do stuff, I'm just like, this is what it looks like for when people used to use that phrase, no offense. Used to lose when they used to say I'm my ancestors' wildest dream. I was like, well, it was bigger than corporate, brother. But do you? I'm happy for you, right? But when I see you, you exemplify that phrase, right? It's more than just a job. It's more than everything. It's a calling. So that's why I have you here today.
Thank you. I'm really honored. That's super kind. Thank you.
You're welcome. So can you describe your life's purpose and who you are as an individual for people who may not know, just in your own words?
Yeah, hefty question. Who I am as an individual. Well, my name is Melaine, and right now I'm a Black Studies scholar. I am a champion of the Black arts and Black culture. And my life's purpose is to learn and to serve. I feel I like to tell people throughout my PhD journey that uh, a lot of academics that move through the world as self-appointed experts subjects, and I truly believe that my purpose is just to be useful. So I did a lot
Mm.
of my reading, a lot of my writing, so other folks didn't have to. I feel like
Mhm.
those with accelerated degrees should see themselves as public servants and griots of knowledge, and kind of like Cliff Notes versions of whatever topic. So it is for me to be kind of like a walking library, so I can just distill the important points to folks who just don't have the time to study or don't have the advantages to study. So yeah, to learn, to serve, and to just contribute to, I guess, harmony in whatever space that I'm in. And that's what I try to work towards.
It's absolutely the most beautiful. That's really beautiful because you're a steward. You're a part of the next generation of bringing that knowledge on more than just having the position just to be an expert. You're just I like how you said you did it so other people don't have to, but that's really good for you being a retainer of that knowledge. It's incredible. Um, as we go into who you are as an individual, what are some of your, I know this is not a question on there, but I want to know about your hobbies. I found out recently you play the saxophone, right?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make a turn this in a crispy clean glaze fest, as the kids say, but I'm just wait. So you're a doctor, you do poetry, you do the saxophone, you put that shit on, as the kids say, when it comes to fits. So I'm just like, okay, can you tell me this about some of your hobbies outside of just really engaging and curating Black arts? Go ahead.
You can hear me. Okay. Um, yeah, I align myself with the blues and jazz traditions in all ways. And so it's funny because I ended up in academia, and it, like I said, it's kind of stuffy in a way. And
Hmm.
even now post, because I believe that academics a lot of times are storytellers, but I want to be a story maker, and I don't want to just write about Zora Neale Hurston and Amiri Baraka and all these people that I think did great work. I want to be like them. I don't want to just write about
Wow.
the cool people. And so with that said, I have a lot of different hobbies. I've tried to play the saxophone on and off for the past, I would say, like 5 years. I'm taking it seriously mostly in the past year, where I'm actually seeing progress. I can start improvise. I've been beginning improvising. As you mentioned, I've been writing poetry since I was young, and I tried to do a couple live things in college, but even then, I guess I was just, I don't know, I was just couldn't get over my fear and the need to be vulnerable as a poet. But now I'm feeling more confident. I'm feeling the necessity of poetry in this day of age. and just wanting to speak out and to share more of the things that I feel I have. I'm pretty ambitious, and so
I can
my
see.
problem, yeah, my problem is just making sure I don't take on too much at one time.
Oh Lord, yeah.
I curate exhibitions, which is not so much a hobby, but um, event creation and development, design, just sharing through cultural activities or cultural events is something I'm really passionate about. So I guess part of what I do when it's not more professional is I do collaborate with up and coming people who are just like, we see what you do. They're in their early 20s. I want to do something similar. And I'll just sit with them. We'll brainstorm and just help them with their projects. So I've been working with some young students, like in a kind of pseudo mentorship capacity, where they just hit
Beautiful
me up on
work.
Instagram. So these like 15, 16-year-olds are like, oh, I see you and I want to do what you do. Or, I saw this one exhibition. Can you pick my brain? And so I'll take these kids out for coffee and I'll just talk to
Oh
them
wow.
about HBCUs even. Some folks like when I was in high school, I didn't know about HBCUs until
Right.
my last 2 years, and Spelman changed my life. So some, especially the Black students that I meet with, I'm like, please consider HBCU before you go to college, because
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't hurt to consider it. And
Mm-hmm.
I want to become a better writer. I think I had to become a professional reader and writer to get through the grad program, but I'm even in less than a month of having graduated, I'm trying to quickly return to like fiction and writing like short stories. I just finished a
Right.
children's short story called Jaylani's Magical Garden that I'm really proud of. Um,
Wow.
that I sent to a friend because she's also working on a kind of book project of like fiction stories. And so, like I said, I want to be a story maker as well as the teller. And yeah, just swirling around, making music, writing poetry, talking to the children. I eventually want to get into gardening as a serious practice. I have like a couple house
Yes.
plants that I haven't murdered because
I
it was
have him.
unsuccessful in the beginning. So trying to sustain life.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. You graduated from Spelman College and you went to Brown University. No, graduated Brown University too, as well, right?
Yep.
And just wanted to let people know, just to make it clear, this is a very educated person I'm talking to, but very beautiful. Awesome. Thank you for that. I love how you just want to grow life and then make the life instead of just writing about it, or just stuff like that. It's really beautiful. All right. Now, while you're humble, appreciate that. You're super humble. Now's the time to, the second question, can you give me some hard statistics, numbers, and finances about your business/life mission that are noteworthy in a testimony to your journey? So just to break down
Mm.
that question a little bit more, like, I want to know some numbers, like, right? Like, I think, like, while you do the qualitative is felt, right? I want
Mhm.
people to understand when I'm writing this and then when I show this, like, what are the numbers looking like? Like it's like, okay, like I've done this many speeches. This is my third, whatchamacallit. This is my fourth award. I've been allotted over this much in funding. Like I just, not to make this the life of Melaine, right? I want to see like during your tenure, through this life's purpose and your mission, which you found out during your, whole adult life and even probably even younger. Tell me about some noteworthy things. I want people to know that when a person commits to this is what the numbers yield, right? Impacts, events, average attendees, anything on your mind with that. So go ahead.
Yeah. Man, I don't do a good job at the numbers game, but I know for a fact,
Says the PhD.
yeah, I know for a fact while in my PhD program, let's say I curated at least 10 exhibitions and projects
Wow.
um, in the past 3 years alone. I believe I started curating around 2021. So I guess maybe three,
Right.
4 years. I know I've done over 10 exhibitions and events. And I would say like 10 exhibitions events, programs, projects, probably way more than that, like at least 10 to 15. And so this is while in the
Wow.
PhD program. I co-founded a biennial called the Black Biennial at the Rhode Island School of Design Museum. And
Wow.
so we had our first iteration in 2022 and the second iteration in 2024, working on a third for 2026. At both of those exhibitions on opening night, we had over 1,000 people come to the exhibition
Ooh.
for both
Sorry being like
nights.
funk flex. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
go
So we had
ahead.
a lot of people interested, and so made that an initiative at the RISD Museum. And originally, students had complained that uh, Black artists were either treated as just kind of like race artists, where all their works were about Blackness and
Oh
Blackness
my
only,
gosh. Hmm.
or if their work was of a kind of craft or a status that wasn't necessarily expected of a Black artist, they did feel like their Blackness might have been whitewashed entirely from the project. So there wasn't this kind of
Mm,
balance of how Black artists are read at the Rhode Island School of Design. And Rhode Island School of Design, I
mm.
believe, has a second endowment, second highest endowment of any art school, I think right behind perhaps
Wow.
Parsons in this
Wow.
country. So it's a huge art school. And so the Black artists didn't feel seen. And so my co-curator, Ray Laundress, and I wanted to do something that included Black artists at RISD, but also those Black artists who hadn't been acknowledged by RISD. So we had curated the first Black community art show at RISD that incorporated non-RISD affiliated folks in the institutional process, in the institutional exhibition process. Other than that, I've uh, worked on exhibitions that had $100,000 budgets, which was a big number for me. I know some
Wow.
major
Whew.
exhibitions have like millions of dollars, but that was a big deal for me to help
Wow.
with that fundraising process. Um, and yeah, that's what I could think. I know like I've won fellowships, like $50,000 fellowships, so that I didn't have to continue teaching. Uh, and so they sponsored me so that all I could do was just write my dissertation, which was great.
Amazing work. Sheesh.
Yeah, so those are some of the numbers I can think of off the top of my head, and I'm grateful for all of the opportunity and all the funding, all the basically the energy sources, whether financial or otherwise, that have continued to allow me to do this work, and that have just poured into me in that way.
Amazing work. Sheesh, I'm just astounded. Like, you're just busy doing it, but the energy and the community finds you, in
Hmm.
addition to when you meet them, they meet you. And I've seen that, that's absolutely beautiful. But I'm a big fan of those events. And now to see that, I always knew it was grand design because it's by your great brain, but to find out it's over 100,000, excuse me, $100,000 budgets and just all this fundraising, even more. And you've done 10 plus of those is really, really amazing. So thank you. All right,
Hmm.
so this is a weird question, but where and from whom did you hone your current skill set? So this is a question. So regards to, I know you're from you're from New Jersey, correct? New
Hmm.
Jersey, Princeton, correct? Or somewhere else.
No, a small
Sorry,
town called Brick, New Jersey.
what's it called?
Brick.
Brick. Okay, brick.
Yeah,
Like brick. Sorry.
it's
So nice
Brick.
brick. So you've from there, but you've been all across the world. And I want to know where and who are some individuals. I remember one person who interviewed last with us said, I got this from my grandmother, I got this from my school, I got this from this and the third. Can you talk about where did you hone this skill set that has made you who you are right now?
Yeah.
From where?
Uh, So I think the first thing that I always say, because people are like, so what is it? I don't I came from, so the town I came from in Brick is a small town, mostly like working class folks, maybe
Right, right.
low to middle class, predominantly white. Not much going on there.
Hmm.
And so I like to say that first and foremost, like I credit my family and my mom for
Hmm.
loving me. And I think
Hmm.
when people are like, "What's your superpower?" Like, where did did you come from like privilege? Did your parents have money? I'm like,
Oh,
I kid you not, I truly believe that the fact that I had people who loved me, and I
right.
don't feel like, at least internally, I there was not a moment where I didn't feel loved growing up. And I think
Oh,
because
wow.
of that, it gave me a lot of confidence. It was always like, go Melaine, we love you, we're here for you. Like my grandparents would show up to my recitals and my concerts and all of that. And I think that kind of created for me this understanding that it's like if I went for it, at least I know my family will support me or they'll cheer me on. And so I think I just carried that with me. And that's what gave me my confidence, is that like I came from a loving family. I'm loved on consistently. So I never really had to doubt myself in that way. Beyond that, I will say that my personality is what keeps that drive going. And in terms of the skills, personally, one is like a personal curiosity that I have. I'm always asking questions. I was always like that
Mm.
kid that was told not to touch stuff, like all of that. And then externally, definitely my grandmother. Like I wrote an article about being an emerging
Wow.
curator a couple years ago,
Wow.
and there are moments where I feel like I'm living the life that she should have lived. And
Mm.
she had children at a young age, definitely sacrificed a kind of professional career for her
Mm.
lifestyle, but if you go into her living room and go into her house, it's highly decorated, highly curated. I mean, it looks like a
Mm.
museum. She has art
Beautiful.
books, food and culture books, design and fashion books, you name it. She dresses to the 20s, like every time she steps out the
Yeesh.
house, like not even to the nines or the tens. Like this woman could dress down.
That draws
Most,
down. I
yeah,
see where you get it
like
from.
yeah, like she dresses down, and she's the most stylish person I know. Like personally, like can outdress any of these young people that
Mm.
think they're doing something with Instagram. You cannot touch this lady. Like she comes from just I don't know ancestral level of style. And
That's
so you
beautiful.
know she would take me out to tea and to museums growing up, and we would go to the Broadway shows because you know New Jersey to New York on a bus ride is not that expensive, and you know we would just go to all these kind of cultural events, sculpture gardens. You know they were either free or they were cheap, and she would
Um,
just we would just spend the afternoons. And so I grew up my nana's girl, and she would take me to do things that maybe her if she had more friends they would go to, but I would just tag along with her. She grew up you know flea markets and vintage and antique shops because like I said she liked to dress, she curated her home in a way. So I grew up kind of just like sorting through stuff with her, going to cultural
mm,
programs with her, and basically adopting her eye. And so when it comes to my interest in poetry, I mean, she's also a poet, which I didn't know until later on. And she showed me some of her,
wow.
yeah, she showed me some of her notebook writings, some of the best poetry I've ever read. Like,
Hmm.
she has this like deep interiority that I guess I'm only just learning now as an adult. But yeah, so I learned early skills from her, not even knowing, like just being around it for her and her influence. And then Spelman was a major influence for me just in terms of my heritage and Black culture. And I tell this story a lot, but uh,
Nice.
like I said, I went to a predominantly white school, and I could probably count on one hand anything by Black writers that we had read. Like I
Right.
maybe one Toni Morrison, maybe, and I think
Wow.
maybe I picked that up at my local library. Like I don't know if that was on the curriculum. I know Maya Angelou was on the curriculum.
Mm,
And I think maybe Uncle Tom's Cabin was on the curriculum as well. Like those what I
mm.
remember
Henry
reading.
Beecher Stove. Yep.
Yeah, and so even that, you know, wasn't by a Black author, but it was translated or filtered through a white woman's perspective. And so anyway, my freshman year when I went to Spelman, we had to take a ADW, the Black Studies course,
I love
and
ADW. Yeah.
love ADW. And we read this Harlem Renaissance journal called Fire, and it was
I
just
remember
a
that one.
you remember Fire? And
Oh, of
there was a
course I do.
you know, and there was a
My
story
love.
in there by Richard Nugent called Smoke Lilies and Jade. I always tell the story because it was written about a Black queer man in Paris. And it was
Wow.
a surrealist kind of stream of consciousness fictional narrative of like him struggling with his queerness, his blackness, his being in Paris as a Black American. And I remember that being an assignment for me. And I just was sobbing. I was just crying.
Oh my God. No.
And I remember calling my mom and she was like, "Why are you emotional over this?" And I said, "Cause I didn't know we could write like this." And I didn't know. I didn't know. And I felt like shit had been stolen from me. You know, like
Yup,
I
yup.
felt like betrayed. I'm like, I didn't know we
We
was out
didn't
here writing
know.
like this.
Yeah.
So that it just changed my perspective about like the history and the cultural knowledge I just didn't have. And it ignited a fire in me just to keep learning and to discover more. And so just kind of pulling that thread. Um, I just began to ask why questions. I went to Spelman undecided, thought I wanted to do political science, didn't want to go to law school, transition to sociology, which I had never heard before getting to college. Sat in a class, and the class I was sitting in was like a senior seminar on power. And I was like, I didn't even think about power as like a construct. And like,
Yeah.
I was just curious from then. So I was like, okay, I'll major in sociology. I had a minor in women's studies and in Black studies because you couldn't major in Black studies. Um, and then that led to one thing led to another. And so I applied to Black Studies PhD programs after Spelman because that's what I would have wanted to do if Spelman had had it. My senior thesis at Spelman was why do so many HBCUs not have a Black Studies major? And like doing quantitative data analysis on which Black institutions have Black studies as a major and why not, how many degrees are conferred during what periods of time, you know, do social movements,
Hmm.
you know, increase the number of degrees that are conferred, you know, so all these type of questions. And so, yeah, it was just like family encouragement, personal curiosity, and then going to an institution like Spelman that allowed me to ask questions, to learn with people who look like me, under professors that look like me, and where really you could just center the Black diasporic experience in the ways that you ask questions, the ways that you critique, the ways that you study the world. And I think that fundamentally shifted the budding Black consciousness I had as an adolescent and then just put it into full force, 17, 18, and having all
Wow.
this knowledge at my fingertips. It changed my aesthetic. It changed my entire cosmovision as an individual.
Cosmo, yep, I love that word. Think about cosmopolitanism. It's really that answers my fourth question. When did you feel your Black culture as an empowering force? Because I've been seeing that whole pathway and everything, you know. And I'm glad Spelman could do that. They said choice to change the world, and it definitely changed you, which helped change the world. So, it's really beautiful.
Well, I
Always
will.
use. Go
Oh,
ahead. Go
sorry.
ahead. Go
Well,
ahead.
I also say I grew up in a Black ass household, and um, it's just true. Like my family, I feel like now they're embracing maybe a more of a kind of more of a like a Black consciousness
Right.
in an intellectual sense, I'll say,
Mm.
through just the things that I come home with and the books that I'm trying to put people on, the articles that I'm sharing. But I will always say that like Blackness was always empowering. Like I you could see my 8-year-old pictures, my braids were just like this. Like
That's
it
beautiful as hell.
the music, the food, the way of speaking, the fashion, the everything was just something that I always saw as beautiful. And I think that's what inspired me to go to Spelman because I'm in, elementary school, middle school, high school. And I'm like, I'm the only one that's like even talking about some of these things, that's even conscious about some of these things, or even who looks like me in a certain way. Granted, my complexion is much lighter, but even then, it's like when you're in a predominantly white space, Black is Black. Like it just
Black
is.
is black,
It
yo.
just is. Like you're just not white. And so I was just always kind of conscious of the difference, but always empowered by that difference. I never felt that as a reason to make myself feel small. And like I said, I came from a loving Black family, so they were just like Team Elaine wherever I went. So I was always empowered in that way.
It's very beautiful. All right, wow. Thank you for that. I think that little add-on, that's a little DLC, a little downloadable content they say in video games. I get to learn that. Um, so this question may seem obvious, but I'm gonna let you ponder on it. But why do you keep fighting for a better future of all whom you represent with the powers you've been allotted? Why can't you quit?
Oh boy. That's a good question because I just wrote a poem that got accepted for publication in an upcoming journal. It's called
Ooh.
Black Joy. And I was
Mm,
surprised that it got accepted because the poem is called I Will Not Rest,
mm.
which you would think is kind of in opposition to Black Joy is like the prompt was what brings you joy? And instead I submitted a poem about how almost I'm kind of tired of these Black joy, Black excellence conversations, which we need to have. But I'm also like,
Yo,
there's a
Google.
place for it. But I'm
They're the
also just
place.
like, there's so much work to be done. And I know my
That's why I love you.
ancestors, our ancestors have done, we've done a lot in our generation, but I don't think some of us, let's say, could push ourselves a little bit more. Like some of us
Yes,
get a little complacent, like we're integrated in certain spaces we thought we should never be in. And
correct,
I'm just kind of
correct.
like, this is the tip of the iceberg. Like I personally feel like me getting a PhD at Brown is like, if I could, I should. And I'm
Incredible work.
it's great work and it's hard work and I respect it a lot. And at the same time, I'm like, we could do more. And so I'm just like you said, with the powers I've been allotted, I'm like, how far can I take this? How far can we take this? Like, is this all? Is this all we can do? I don't think so. And so I guess I'm just like never satisfied. And we still not free. And I think that's why I can't quit. I'm like, even though I might be in a better situation than someone else or, another person like who has a corporate job can make decent money. I'm like, that's not freedom. Um, we don't have autonomy. And I fight for a better future because we fucking deserve it. I don't know if I can curse on this, but we deserve it.
You can,
And
you can. It doesn't
yeah,
really, yeah. It's like,
we
and this
fucking
is
deserve it. We didn't get reparations. Like, I mean, if we're talking about the Black context alone, indigenous folks still haven't been given proper reparations, even with the reservations that they have supposedly gave them. They're not entirely sovereign, and so I just think I believe in a better world, and I believe in a certain kind of futurism where I can raise children that are healthy and happy, and so um, I try to surround myself with hopeful people, with optimistic people. As much as possible because there really isn't an alternative.
all right,
There's
all
really
right.
not. And I'd rather be someone who, if not at the helm of leadership, is at least in some kind of like horizontal leadership structure with other people so that we can have a
Right.
say. Because I'm like, if we don't keep fighting, someone's just going to make decisions for us. And, I don't want that to happen.
I want
So,
to usually of course, move the question. I'm ad-libbing. I really want you to speak. I really want to reflect on a lot of points you made, because usually you have interviewers just ask questions, move over, and everything of the sort. Lane, that's a lot of profound things that you definitely touched on, right? So the first thing is that I am big on Black happiness, Black joy, Black art. It motivates me. It fuels me. It is the reason I fight. That's the reason I can't stop fighting. There is nothing more. I took my student out yesterday. He graduated eighth grade. Took him to White Marsh Mall in the Maryland,
yeah.
and then he took him out for ice cream and so much stuff. It's on my story right now, if you want to look. But I'm taking him out. I'm taking him out and everything. And I'm sitting and I'm watching Black kids, young Black boys, young Black girls do cartwheels and stuff like that. And I said, this is what I do it for. They're freedom. They're happy. In this moment, they're free. They feel happiness. They're unbridled. They're not being stifled. They're able to play tag and scream as loud as they want to. They get the freak up. It's like, for me, that is the treasure. We talk about like, pirates, maybe One Piece, right? Like the concept of treasure and stuff like that, right? But that's treasure to me. And I can't stop with that. But going back to it, I think that's why rest is important, joy is important, peace is important as well. That is a privilege from people who have warred and fought and died and sacrificed. And while a lot of people have done it, I feel like now is not the time to be on that super wave of like you said, like I love there's a balance more so, and there's a space for that, which you're so eloquent in saying, but like we do need to be doing more. This is not a time for us to be doing like all right, yo, like we're kind of gonna chill out. I don't need to go to this. I don't need to support this. No, we need you. We need you. And it's a little frustrating to see a little bit of nonchalantness or a little bit of lackadaisicalness or laziness and slothfulness. I'm like, we should be out there doing something with your gift and everything, right? I think it's trifling not to. I watched the Nikki Giovanni thing. That's what inspired this whole book, and everything.
That's my girl.
But
Yeah.
that's my girl. I watched this. That's a documentary on HBO Max. I'll never forget this day. I was with someone else was featured on this book and inspired. I put this in the foreword of the book. But it's crazy to me that she says we're full of so much style and everything and power and everything. How can we not? You been to the African American Smithsonian Museum?
I did. Yeah.
Girl, I know you did. What am I talking about?
Hmm.
That's your whole bag.
Hmm.
I went up there and I went up to the sports section. Of course, I went to the slave thing. I went to the sports section and I went to the music and art section. I'm like, why are we so magical? Golly, our hand, our talk, our everything, our style. Like, I saw the Parliament Funkadelic like spaceship. I'm like, I almost start crying. I'm like, this is who we are, right? Um,
What
and you
was
definitely
beautiful about that
go,
exhibition, excuse me, sorry,
go, no, we're
was
ciphering.
because
Yeah,
we have that kind of myth around Black people that we're just like supernatural or superheroes or that we are magical in that way. But
we're,
what that museum put in perspective for me, specifically in the
go
sports
ahead.
section,
Right,
um, was they were like breaking down like Black male athleticism or just Black athleticism in general. And they were like, it's intelligence. Like this isn't
right.
this kind
That's
of
gorgeous.
innate like
Right.
muscular thing that we just have we're just
Right.
biologically gifted. They're like
That's
what you're seeing
racist,
is
yeah.
yeah, it's racist. They're like we're intelligent, we're more than
Mm.
intelligent. So when you see these gymnasts, Simone Biles making these flips, or you see LeBron do this is calculation. Like and they
Calculation.
were able to have this mind body connection. They were basically able to resolve the difference so that they could move swiftly with geometry, and they can move swiftly with physics. And I'm like, that is the Black ingenuity of it all, the Black genius of it all, whatever you want to call it. Where I'm like, it's magic and it's science and it's all of this just together within us. Or
Together.
no,
Because I
if you,
think, because
yeah,
because shout out to Coco, she just won the
yeah.
and everything. I think about Serena and Arthur Ashe, and I'm looking at these things, and I'm like, dude, how do people think of this? It is just crazy, like in the way that it's not funny. It's not funny. So when you see basketball from the 20s and the 1920s and stuff, and the way it's played today, other they would we have just completely changed the way to get like technique is so much. And he was talking about that in technique. So when I see you when you're talking about what keeps you what all the powers you've been allotted, like you get to use all of those. It's so beautiful. So really great things you said with that. I just want to cipher on that because I think we should all be using our powers to go. You never know what we're gonna add. So number six, like you said, the work's really not finished, and I appreciate it, like and everything. I love what you're saying. Keep doing. What does the future look like for those who look like you and want to take up the work you currently engage yourself in? As candidly as possible, what would you say to them?
I can imagine
Hmm.
and I can believe in a future
Hmm.
that's green as hell and
Hmm.
there's way more water sources. Maybe we can figure out a way to get those back. Um,
Hmm. Sure,
a, a
Afrofuturism.
future where people are empathetic and healed from past traumas. And I also believe in a world where people just live in a spirit of communalism, like where you finally understand that in sacrificing like individual moments of pleasure or desires, that we can create environments and ecosystems that are just prosperous for us all.
Amen to
Um,
that.
for people that look like me, like you said, I want to see. I want what freedom looks like is like uh freedom of movement and
Right.
volume and like
Mm.
anti-carcerality, like where it's just
Mm.
the body isn't being policed, it's not being read for something that it's not,
Right.
where people can actually design and steer their own destinies, or they don't feel like they're so locked into only maybe one or two options that were laid in front of them. um I want outside. I want kids to be back outside. That's one
Oh
thing
my
I've
God.
noticed is like the number of children who are just not outside anymore. And it makes sense because of just like dangers to children. The internet becoming, a substitution for face-to-face playing. Um,
Right.
I'm also just seeing like an end to like major corporations and housing infrastructures that are just robbing
Mm.
people of places to live. And I know this sounds idyllic, but I truly believe it. And back going back to
Mm.
the previous question, it's just like it's a faith. I would
That's the
also
faith.
like to see spiritualism return, and it doesn't have to be
Mm.
religion. But I do think that we could spend a lot more time as people just slowing down to recognize source, whatever that is. I
Mm.
feel like we're just so distracted and we move way too fast to understand that like um, mortality is a gift in a way, and
Right.
just like pausing to take time to like have gratitude for just the day and the life force. I would like to see that. So at least in the United States, yeah, I would just like to see a lot less greed, a lot more harmony, communalism, and just use our brain. Like we have so much potential. Like the
I know you're being serious,
anti-intellectualism is
but it
crazy.
is crazy,
Like
yeah.
use our
It's
brain. Like we're so like as a species, like I think that's why the Olympics is so impressive, and that's why people get so riled up for these big tournaments, is because what we're seeing on these great stages is our capacity as a species to grow and to progress and to break records that we're setting for ourselves. We're selling ourselves short. Sorry, 1 second.
no way. No, I'll just go talk in the meantime while until you whatchamacallit. But no, no, I'm laughing, but it's crazy. The concept of anti-intellectualism nowadays is just really baffling. I just can't. I'd be looking at people, certain posts and everything. I'm like, we're better than this. And I'm not just talking about black people. I'm talking we're better as a human race with this, you know? So, and then also the comment, once you keep going, keep going, keep going. I'll finish at the
Oh
end.
yeah, I was just like we could just do so much more, and um we have this kind of like self-annihilism thing going on where a
Mhm,
number of the human race is okay with annihilating the anything else, everything and everything else. And I'm
mhm.
just like, I think we can get to a base level where we can save ourselves and the environment, because that's where we're at right now. It's beyond conversations of futurism and growth. I think right now we're at a self-preservation is like what we're
Right.
fighting for. We're the generation to make sure that we don't go out like the dinosaurs basically. Like that's this
Literally.
is the time to decide how we're gonna tell this story, if we're gonna just let it go outside. So yeah, the future I see is just more compassionate, more empathetic, and more environmentally conscious, and also just very pro intellect. And something I often say, and I'll say to the blue, tell them blue in the face, anybody can be an intellectual. An academic is someone who commits to the profession within the university and academia. A scholar is someone who seriously undertakes reading and books and texts as a source of information. But an intellectual is just someone who uses their brain, is creative, is someone who likes to think about big ideas. And so I think once more people empower themselves to understand that you could be an intellectual and not be a scholar, or an intellectual and not be an academic, and that you have the power to influence, you have the power to create and to process really big ideas and distill them into like bite-sized concepts, I think we'll be better for it. But I think right now a lot of people feel disempowered, and so they don't feel like they can make things shake. But way more of us can than we think is possible right now.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Amen to that. And we have to hold each other to a high standard as well. Um,
Yeah, have
um, I was
standards. All
I
this
was thinking,
nonchalant stuff, you know?
yeah, and then that's why I love you. No, you
Yeah.
really get to the nick. You know how to say things in a very stern way, and it's like gentle, but it's also like get your shit together. Like you're able to say it in that way without having to be like on some. But even still, that's beautiful. But I think about I met the creator of Afrofuturism about 7 years ago, actually. Kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Just originally like, and mind you, it's come from a bunch of we've always really had it in us, and it's the concept of like looking towards the future of Black interactions, Black art, Black activism, Black freedom, all aspects of Blackness, everything that you just talked about, right? Our life, our housing, our capacity, anti-carceralism, all that, right? So there was a person who really, like the person who was one of the four mothers of coining it, if not the one, she was a Clark Atlanta student, and she had written a book like years and years and years ago, like really capturing. She did a speech at Bowie State University, met her and talked to her about it. And she really changed my mind with it because this is around the time Black Panther came out,
Mm,
or was this about a month before, or a couple of things? And what I'm learning is when I learn about Afrofuturism, it really changed my mind. And people think about first things wealth, right? That's great. But resources, freedom, sexuality, gender, stuff like that, all the aspects of blackness that we have this limited view on and everything. What if that was limitless? What if we had a lot of what we wanted and needed, like agriculture, everything? And so we saw Black Panther maybe a month later and everything, and our school took us to see it. And I was just like, wait, that's what she was talking about, right? Well, it's not just tech, right? We think of technology, we think of the way we dress, we think of like the freedom, we think of equal roles in society and stuff like that, right? So we think of our children, we think of it. What does the future look like if it was like on some Word the Luther, this world of mine,
hmm.
type stuff. Really, like if you just described it, like their freedom, our health, right? Our health, right? Us not destroying the planet, stuff like that. So a future where they're able to live though all of that is not even we talk about idealistic and everything of sort, but if this really was ours, we would make it, and
Right.
it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thought that keeps me going, like this could be life. um sometimes when I spent time with you, Melaine, I felt like that actually. I was like,
Mm.
okay, so it was like, well, this is when I spend time with you and my comrades, I'm like, and I'm having these things and I'm laughing, I'm talking about this is what it should be. So I think about the
Yeah.
last time you and I definitely talked with that and everything, and I remember that thought, and that keeps me going alongside my other friends. Like, this is what it is at
Hmm.
Zenith, and this is what
Hmm.
I want. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. So last
Yeah.
thing, yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Any hopeful words for those who are Black and fighting for their dreams in this age and time? Even though you kind of answered it, but any before, but any
Yeah.
hopeful words?
I
Yeah.
guess just riffing off of what you just said, surround yourself with people with similar values, even
Hmm.
some maybe with some dissimilar values, but maybe the core
Hmm.
values are the same. But surround yourself with people kind of like what you just said, like who make you believe that the fight is worth it. Like that
Hmm.
reminds you that the future you envision is possible, that make you feel like the person that you want to be and that mirrors that in you. And then two, start before you're ready. Start unfinished. Don't wait. And that's probably my number
Start
one
before you
advice right
finish.
now. Start before you're finished. Start before you're ready. Yeah. Like start unfinished because we're always waiting for things to be perfect, for you to have enough money, for you to have the lifestyle that you want or whatever it is, for you to be ready for the opportunity or ready to create. And it's just like the best things come when you're like, I have enough. I don't know about the rest, but I'm just going to dive into it anyway and see what happens. And so a lot of the things I've done, I wasn't ready, but I got ready through the process. I gained the qualifications through the process, the skills, like,
Talk about it.
not being sure maybe a space was for me, like, oh, I don't really know about this kind of like organizing, but let me join this group anyway and I'll learn along the way. Like just throw yourself into the fire and most times you'll come out unscathed. Like just go. So yeah, so that's my words, is like surround yourself with people who make you believe in the future that you want to see, and don't wait. Don't wait
Yeah.
to feel like you need to be somebody else to start living your dreams out.
Amen to that. That's beautiful. A lot of people don't realize you just need to start. Some of the big opportunities I just started, you know. I did what I do now because when I was in undergrad, I was trying to be an international studies major. My parents couldn't really afford for me to go abroad and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So I started creating things like the hip hop revolution. And then that got me into Harvard and stuff like that. So, it was like doing stuff with hip hop. And I had that conversation with you about hip hop, you and your brother and stuff like that. We talked about Cardi B back in 2019. So
Mhm.
it just this stuff this everything comes full circle when you really engage in that. You'll come out unscathed, but molded by the fire. You'll be like, wow,
Molded.
like molded, like you're like the finest metal ever,
Mhm.
or gold. And so it's just really beautiful. That'll be it. I really thank you for your time. You've been absolutely dynamic. But
Oh.
thank you so much, Melaine. Where can people find you, just in case? They want to know where can people find you and your work and support your work and everything. LinkedIn, Instagram, stuff like that. Talk to me,
Yeah.
Rap.
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, Melaine J. King. I'm on Instagram, Melaine.mp3. My
Hmm.
website, MelaineJKing.com.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, you can email me at MelaineCreates@gmail. So you can find me in a number of ways if you need me.
All right, great. Well, keep up to a good fight and I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thanks for your time. Hope to catch
No,
up soon.